smooth. It was okay in most of the places. There were fears that the build-up was characterized by some comments and violence that may lead to violence, but fortunately, there were very few reported incidents of violence, and they were quickly settled, except for German North constituency, where there was disputes between the parties, the Everton, and it delayed elections up to about 12 in the afternoon. The Electoral Commission had to extend the elections by 5 hours. Consequently, the elections continues this morning at 7 in the morning local time, so that and it will stop at 12 because that is the 5 hours extended as a result of that dispute. But for that, there were no any incidents of any serious incident. And the collection started immediately. The results were released at the polling center. That is an open kind of counting, just the way we do in Nigeria. After the election closed at 5, the collation begins, and then the people wait behind while the polling officer publicly counts the vote each, and then he announces the result at that particular vote. And the results are taken to collation centers where they are electronically transmitted to the Electoral Commission in Accra. That is where the main something is. So throughout the night, I witnessed some of the countings. Some were being done with lantern where there is no power, or where the power is not sufficient to light the place, so that everybody will be satisfied that nothing funny is happening. So collection is still on now as we are talking, and more results are taken in.
All right, Mohammed, thank you very much. Just wanted to ask, we're talking about vote counting as well as transmission of declared results to collation centers. Did you find instances of voters who were seeking to defend their votes?
Can you say that again, Kinsley? I can't hear you clearly.
I said, did you find or witness voters who were present at collation centers or at the vote counting centers who were there to defend their votes?
That is exactly what happened. All the polling units, there were a large crowd of people waiting for collection. Towards the evening, when I visited some of the polling stations, they were virtually empty except for those that were coming in late to come and vote. But then, behold, when it was a few minutes to the collation, all the voting centers were as filled up as they were in the morning when people came to vote. People were there to see the counting one after the other, vote after vote. And of course, at the end of the counting, if their candidate is the winner in that polling unit, they will shout and celebrate. Yeah, even late into night, most of the polling centers, especially the collation centers, where those from other places are being brought, there were a lot of people. In short, many people keep vigil throughout to see that they witness everything.
All right, and again, Mohammed, let's back up a bit. What was the process, for voting? Was it smooth? Did you have glitches with the equipment that they use, card reader, and so on and so forth? What was it like, and what lessons can we learn?
Yes, all a voter needs to do is go to where he registered his polling station, present his voter card, and then it's going to be verified by checking the list. If the list is checked and his name is there, then he goes to the next person who has the biometric, where his fingerprints will be checked, and that the biometric even is automated. If you are verified, it will say verified, and then you are then given a ballot paper first for the president. Then you go to you just walk a distance into the polling booth. Then you print, and then come out and put your vote publicly into the ballot box. Then after that, that you now go back again to another table close by, because there are two tables, to collect the ballot for the parliamentary election, and then you go and repeat the same process and then put it in another box that is meant for the parliamentary election. and that is all. That is the process. There are biometric and one thing, the Electoral Commission said none of the biometric devices failed. That was what they reported. They said none failed except for batteries, and they had made provision that every 4 hours the batteries will be changed, and that was done, and there was no failure of any biometric. That is their kind of card reader.
All right, Mohammed, finally and quickly too, do we know anything about the preliminary, observations by foreign observers?
Yes, the one that I can say authoritatively is that of ECOWAS, because ECOWAS here has the largest observers, that is among the international observation missions. And the ECOWAS team was there at the particular 4 collation centers, 2 up to late in the, midway into the night yesterday, when the head of mission and the other members of the team were at the collation center. They made sure that every vote was
all right. Mohammed, we'd like to thank you at this point, even though with our signals freezing. But we'd like to thank you. By the way, you look more settled today than the last time we had you. All right, then, thank you. And this Muhammad Ali can't hurt a fly, not the Muhammad Ali, the boxer.
Yeah,
all right.
Even the spellings of their names are not the same. So.
All right, now back home, let's talk about the Rivers State rerun election that is scheduled for Saturday. It is our main topic for discussion on the program. And of course, to lay the foundation for our discussion, Omotala Omojola put together this report.
The 2015 general elections had some inconclusive polls. This led to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, having to conduct rerun elections in the affected states. The hardest nut to crack has been the case of Rivers State, which has proven to be difficult for INEC. This is as a result of cases of violence and acts of terror reported in the state, where the nation's 2 major political parties are the strongest contenders. It will be recalled that after the 2015 general polls, the election of some aspirants into the federal and state legislature was overturned by the tribunal, which led to INEC scheduling of a rerun for March 2016. The results of the March election was also characterized by violence, which led to loss of lives and properties, and unsavory aftermath for both the state and the nation. The result was the invalidation of the March rerun election. The level of anarchy exhibited in the quest for who wields the most influence in the state, as expressed in the acts of terror noted in the affected parts, also led to INEC's postponement of a state rerun election again from July, with indications that the polls will be conducted in October. The election also did not take place in October, and it took the resolution of the National Assembly and a threat of strike by the Senate arm for a date to be eventually fixed. Saturday, December 10, 2016 is fixed, and the rerun will take place in 3 senatorial districts, 8 federal constituencies, and 10 state constituencies. Amidst rumors of tension, accusations, and counter-accusations between the 2 major political parties, INEC says it is deploying 10,294 officials for the polls. Will Rivers State give peace a chance this time around? And will the politicians place the greater good of the citizens above personal ambitions? Nigerians can only expect the best.
Omojola, thank you very much there for that background report. We have guests with us here in the Abuja studios, as well as from our Port Harcourt Network Center. First, we'd like to welcome the Deputy Director in charge of publicity of the Election Management Body, that's INEC, Mr. Nick Dazang. Pleasure again to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and then we also have with us in the studios the First Public Relations Officer, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Don Awuna, DCP Awuna. Pleasure to have you on the program.
Good morning.
Okay.
All right, we also have with us Esther Uzoma. She's of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. Thank you very much, Esther, for joining us.
My pleasure.
And we also have from Port Harcourt Studio, the Archbishop, Province of the Niger Delta and Bishop, Niger Delta North Diocese, Ignatius Cosby Ketty, Dean Emeritus, Church of Nigeria, Anglican Communion. We'd like to thank you very much, Bishop Ketty.
Good morning, please.
All right, Claire, I think it's advisable that we even begin the conversation from Port Harcourt, which is the capital of Rivers State. Bishop Ketty, well, let's get from your perspective, what is the mood like 48 hours before the supplementary elections that will take place in Rivers?
The mood is really not tense as the press is carrying. There's quietness everywhere, but people are anticipating that there'll be election. And there's nothing serious happening. It's calm, but I think it's being overblown by the press. That there's trouble here. I don't think I've not seen any trouble here, really.
Are you saying, Bishop, that the reports that we have in the media would appear to be some exaggeration? The threats of fire and brimstone that we have also heard, including some of them that we read in the papers this morning, would appear not to represent the true situation in Rivers, or the guns are silent in the meantime, waiting to boom on election day?
They are just threats. And everybody has the right to say whatever I want to say, but the place is calm, and we are ready for the election. We believe that the election will be peaceful. We still believe it.
We share in your optimism, but let's get back to Abuja here, where we have, of course, the Deputy Director of Publicity of INEC, Mr. Nick Dezang. Mr. Dezang, first of all, give us a picture of what this rerun election will be like. Are we going to hold? Is it likely to hold? Is INEC going to conduct elections on Saturday?
INEC is determined to conduct and conclude these elections in Rivers State on Saturday. If you recall that we have made several efforts to conclude these elections. These efforts for us in INEC are a mark of our determination. You recall that these elections themselves were as a consequence of court orders in the aftermath of the 2015 general elections. And after the court orders, we promptly drew up a timetable to conclude the elections on Saturday, 19th March 2016. Unfortunately, when we proceeded to conclude these elections, they were disrupted by violence. Some of our staff were abducted, some were maimed, and in fact, we lost a serving member of the NYSC, as a result of which we now had to suspend the elections even as they were being conducted. So by the time we now suspended them, they were at various stages. Some had been concluded and returns made. Some had collations done, but returns not made. Some were at the level of voting. Some were at the level of accreditation and so on. And after that, we articulated a roadmap that we felt was going to climax into the conduct of this election on 30th of July. In fact, we had a stakeholders forum here in Abuja at the Sheraton Hotel and Towers, and we agreed jointly with the stakeholders to conclude the elections on the 30th of July. Unfortunately, on the 22nd of July, our local government office in Kana was burned down, and matters were not helped by the inflammatory and bellicose rhetoric that was being issued by some prominent stakeholders in that state. And other stakeholders, including the security agencies, were unanimous then that the atmosphere for concluding these elections did not arise. So we now suspended the elections once more, but we were undaunted. We still went back and continued to engage with stakeholders. And on the 3rd of November, we now came up with this timetable for concluding the elections on Saturday, 10th December 2016. So if you look at the chronology or the history, you can see that on our part we have been determined. At each point we train staff, we engage with stakeholders with a view to concluding the elections. But this time around, with the support of stakeholders, we are confident that we'll conclude these elections. And Our confidence is built and reinforced by the stakeholders forum we held yesterday in Port Harcourt, in which all stakeholders gave us their unalloyed support. So as far as we are concerned on our part, we are ready to conduct this election, and the security agencies particularly have also given us robust support in this regard, because the situation in Rivers State is such that you must get the robust and unstinted support of the security agencies to secure, first of all, our staff who are going to conduct the elections, to secure the materials for the election, and to secure the voters themselves. And in fact, to secure the people of Rivers State, who before now were known for their peaceful comportment, to the extent that at one point, if you recall, Port Harcourt was renowned as the Garden City.
Okay, let me just take you. The stakeholders meeting you held yesterday, what kind of assurance, did you get, that it's now giving you, boosting your morale to conduct the elections?
I think we have held 3 stakeholders now, national stakeholders, apart from those that were held in the state by the resident electoral commissioner. And we held one, like I said, on the 30th of June. We did one on the 15th of August in Port Harcourt, and that of yesterday. And out of the 3 stakeholders that we held, yesterday's was the least acrimonious. I'm having difficulty with that word. So to that extent, I think that there is a buy-in of the elections by all stakeholders, to the extent that everyone was clamoring that, look, it is time we concluded these elections. And I think that there is this realization by stakeholders that the state itself is being shortchanged, because it has no full representatives in the Senate. The 3 senatorial districts are still not occupied, and we want to conclude the election so that we can have the 3 senators there. And there are 8 federal constituency seats, not 10, as was previously stated, that are up for grabs, and there are 10 state constituency elections. So for us to have robust representation for the people of Rivers, and by extension, the people of the South-South in the National Assembly, we need to conclude these elections.
All right, Nick Dazang, thank you very much again. We'll come back to you in the course of the conversation. Let's bring in Esther Uzoma of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room now into the conversation. Ms. Uzoma, you listened first to Bishop Kate speaking to us from Port Harcourt. He says the situation is calm. Nick Dazang says INEC is ready. They've had stakeholders meeting. The Situation Room, what are you getting?
Well, from the Situation Room, reports from some of our partnering organizations like Clean Foundation. There are some areas that have been marked, have been flagged. And on Nelga, that is outside Port Harcourt. Killings, even before now, there have been called killings and shootings in Port Harcourt. And the inflammatory statements coming from the prominent, the actors are not helping matters. So we are mobilizing a little over 150 observers. Again, we bearing in mind that it is a civil duty. Elections, even more so, our belief that there is that tension is emphasized, or rather underscored, by the mobilization of gunboats, policemen, and all that. You would think it's a preparation for a civil war. You think it's Armageddon has commenced. You see, so it's a civil duty, and then being minded that it's a civil duty, the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, again, is imploring the citizens of Rivers State that it will not happen, if they do not agree, because the vehicle for violence is always the citizen. Violence does not occur in a vacuum. This is the message we are preaching. We're encouraging them to come out, vote, and go home. Nobody, no politician will mourn the death of a Port Harcourt citizen who dies in the course of this quest for power.
Okay, let me again, Kingsley, if I may, go back to Port Harcourt where we have Bishop Carter before we bring in the, of course, force PRO. Bishop Carter, you very well know, I know you've been in River State for a very long time, you know the different hotspot areas, especially within the areas that we call the upland riverine areas. Given the accusations and counter-accusations of the parties to this election, do you think that this election will go, violent-free, as you have, raised hopes?
There is no way of knowing, but I believe that if the actors are given assurance, we have to believe them. We must separate call group from elections. Call groups may be operating on their own. Election is election. Call groups are call groups. And really the policemen have, we brought about 20,000 policemen to River State, but it's very frightening. The electoral will be very frightened when they see so many policemen. Somebody said, it looks as if there's war. We encourage everybody to go and vote, but when they see so many policemen gather at the session, it may scare people. But let's hope that God will help us. People will go and vote, do the voting peacefully.
Bishop Carter, again, just before we invoke the power of the Spirit, to come upon rivers, some observers have been wondering, while all of the altercation, the inflammatory rhetoric, and the killings have been going on, where are the elders in Rivers?
The elders are doing their best. Let me just say, the governor declared a three-day fasting from yesterday. Today, I'm fasting myself now. I mean, others are fasting. And everybody wants free and fair election. Everybody wants peace in River State. But I think that those who employ these youths to cause problem can't control them again. The youths may cause trouble, but they were employed initially to help them in the election, but they may overgo their bounds. And we are appealing to youths also, please, if you die, you are dead. If anything happens to you, that's happened to you. Let us come down and make River State a great state it has been. And I appeal to all the political class to calm down. Let the election be free, fair, and credible. That's the only way this state can move forward. And again, I appeal to the president. See, he shouldn't make the mistake President Jonathan made. He thought it was a reverse thing. It has moved him out now. President should call both Wike and Amechi and talk to them. They will listen to him. They will listen to him. He seems to think that he's reverse something. It may cost him his position if he doesn't call them together. Because as long as River State is in trouble, he will be in trouble also.
Yeah, but earlier, Bishop Carter, against this thing with you, you said the elders in Rivers were doing their best. Is it possible to give us an indication of some of the steps they've taken and why it would appear that the gladiators, are still, digging in their respective positions?
The chiefs are calling, they're making an announcement. They call these boys and tell them, please don't make trouble. The pastors are preaching in the churches. And we are doing all these things, but it depends on what the political class tells them, because they are employed by the political class. So if political class tells them, my boys, let's be calm, they will be calm. The INEC will do their work. I don't think we should blame the INEC. We should still blame the political class. If the INEC will bribe, they're going to bribe the INEC. To employ the youth is the political class going to employ the youth. So the police will do their work. The judges will do their work also. If political class allow election to be free and fair, it will be free and fair. So I appeal to the political class to allow this election free and fair. But the most striking thing is that even those who know they're going to win the election want to win the election. That is the most surprising thing. You know you're going to win the election, but you don't trust the right person. You feel that the right person is going to rig, and so you decide to rig. So let us have this election free. Everybody should go and vote. And I think that if everybody votes, when the results come out, we know those that have been voted into power.
All right, Bishop Kati, just the last one from me to you. You talked about the size of the police, and that of course the area shouldn't be politicized, if I may use the word. I'm sure you heard the Deputy Director for INEC. The reason why INEC is going ahead to conduct this election is because INEC has the assurance, security assurance. So what exactly are you saying? Are you saying that we should reduce the number of the security operatives that will be deployed to River State?
I'm not saying, but I say 20,000 is too frightening. If I go to a police station and I find about 20 policemen at a police station, I'll be afraid. What's going to happen there? We can do election without policemen, of course. 2 or 3 policemen at a station to monitor what is happening. But when we flood River State with policemen, I think it may backfire in the end, because we don't know what will happen at the station. Policemen will do their work, but you don't trust these boys. The boys can do anything they want to do. They want to cause problem at the station.
All right, Bishop of the Niger Delta North Diocese, Ignatius Cosby Kati, speaking to us from our Port Harcourt Network Studios. We'd like to thank you for being part of Good Morning Nigeria today.
Thank you very much.
All right, now let's return to Abuja Studios. The first Public Relations Officer, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Donna Wood. Of course, you'll listen to the other guests as well as the Bishop whom we just signed up. Now, beyond the issue of fasting and the impact that's likely to have on the election, what is the threat analysis by the security agencies?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, the huge number of police that you are seeing in River State, they're there for the people, to ensure confidence, to ensure the process goes as planned. Ondo elections have been a learning curve. And the IGP and his management team has designed a master plan, an action plan that will guarantee free, fair, and credible election from the security perspective. So the police are there for the people. They're there for the process. And it's a civil police. And the policemen who are going to the polling units, about 1,081 polling units, are not going to be armed. They are there to ensure confidence, to ensure that the government is prepared to ensure that there's free and fair election. Like I said, we have about 1,081 polling units. The INEC director have just told you the what is at stake. 3 senators, 8 House of Assemblies, 8 House of Reps, 10 House of Assembly, and 29 political parties are involved, spanning the 23 local government area. So in order to guarantee this, the police has to, because we're the lead agency when it comes to security of elections and internal security. When it comes to crime, violence, an individual at an isolated area can cause problem for the country. So you don't take anything for granted. So in order to make sure that this is a huge success, and certainly it's going to be a huge success, this is the assurance the IG wants Nigerians to know that River is going to be a huge success. We have planned, we have not just 20, we are giving 30 additional policemen. 350 patrol vehicles will be deployed. 20 gunboats along the creeks of the rivers. 20 horses for crowd control. And of course, for air surveillance. A deputy inspector general of police has been assigned to supervise the election, to be assisted by an assistant inspector general of police and 3 commissioners of police in the senatorial district.
Sorry, this is my question really. You've talked about your deployment and your hope for peaceful conduct of the election. What is the threat analysis that you're getting in terms of security? Because Bishop Kati told us that, look, the place is calm, so there are exaggerated reports in the media. Is that what you're getting?
See, threat analysis we have done, we're ensured it's going to be peaceful. But you see, violence involved, it sparks off. Sometimes unplanned. When a young man sits in his office after having some briefs from whoever he thinks is having briefs, he waits for an opportunity. So some violence are opportunistic. Whether the process is on or not, do this. So that's why you deploy. Because violence can erupt. But from our analysis, both threat and need analysis, we are very sure, that's why we're deploying enough, that Rivers State is going to be a very successful election. Using Ondo and Edo as an index, it's going to be a very huge success. But you see, like the politicking in the media, those are hypes. Those are hypes. And no politician will be allowed to be accompanied to any polling unit. No top government official will be allowed to be accompanied to any polling unit with a uniform personnel. When I mean uniform personnel, I'm talking about uniform, not just police officer or armed.
How will you, Judge Claire, just before we bring in Esther Uzoma, what is your response to allegations making the rounds that some of the politicians are under threat of arrest, so they've hit the mattress, as the mob would say. In other words, they've gone in to hide it. That's one. And then the governor was had to have complained that his chief security officer had been withdrawn. And of course, yesterday, Fayoshe, the governor of Ekiti State, was saying there were threats, to put the governor under house arrest.
If you take a cursory look and analysis of our political history and election, this always be the sing song when it comes to election. Nobody's arresting anybody, except if you commit an offense, you'll be arrested. If you commit an offense, you'll be arrested. Nobody's arresting anybody. These are what you call political red herring. We cannot be distracted. The IGP cannot be distracted with those tantrums on pages of newspaper. The IGP is passionate and concerned about the security of this country, about the security of elections in Rivers State. Having done this in Liberia and East Timor, he is prepared to do it here in Nigeria. He midwifed the election in Liberia in 2005. He did the same thing in East Timor. He has international exposure and is prepared to bring to bear the principles of democratic policing and best practices. So those are red herrings. We're not concerned about that. So people give threat. If there's any apparent threat, inform the police and we'll secure you.
Okay, let me quickly take you before we bring in Esther. There's also the allegation of stockpiling of arms, which, if it's confirmed, it's a serious threat to the security of the elections. So have you also done a check, or is it also another, political red herring?
Well, if people are stockpiling arms, a good Nigerian, a good citizen, should be able to give the police the information. It's not enough to talk. Talk is cheap. Give the information, because we are all vulnerable. We are all concerned. It's not an issue about political gladiators. The beneficiaries of democratic dividends are the people. So the police are there for the people.
Well, all right, we'll come back to you, DCP. Two other questions I asked which you couldn't touch on. Well, we'll come back to you. Esther Uzoma, again, for the benefit of our viewers, let's, from the Situation Room, properly situate the elections that will be taking place on Saturday in Rivers. This is not an election for the governor. Even though you have 3 senators, 8 House of Reps members, and 10 House of Assembly seats. Why does it appear that the stakes are so high, and then you are having this level of tension and anxiety and expectation, like, it's a battleground?
Well, so let's go back to the presidential elections, that brought in President Muhammad Buhari. It was also the elections that brought in, governor, the present governor of Rivers State. It wasn't. It was extremely acrimonious. So there's a baggage of acrimony. And one thing about Rivers State is that consistently over the years we have seen the civil space being dominated by armed groups. They contend seriously with the state. So, build up to an election, which is just another extension of the power tussle. You find that the civil space, civilians, bearing arms, contending, and sometimes winning with the state's, apparatus. They're contending seriously. They possess the capacity to unleash terror before elections. This is, it is settled. Everybody knows that, oh, this is what happens in Rivers State. If you want this, oh, do you belong here or do you belong there? So when we now see individuals who are capable of unleashing terror on individuals, on the citizens, while the state's security agencies they play safe. Everybody knows that, arms in Rivers State is you buy it in the streets. It is the cold killings that have preceded this election. The wanton killings that have preceded these elections. It's just coming to. So if we are mobilizing all this, it tells you that something is wrong. And if you are saying, oh, that in case that it's opportunistic, what will give the opportunity? The simple truth of the matter is this: there is clear and present danger. And at the level of the situation room, we understand this part also. There are individuals who are in charge of territories, of streets. Definitely, before now. So many killings unexplained. You see, so it is this extension of this part also that has come to, of course, politics. It's about authoritative allocation of values. This is the high point of, of it all. That's why everything is getting to a head. And then the state has mobilized. So what happens when the elections are over? It is back to normal, isn't it? So before now, there has been a successful contention of civil space by armed groups.
Yeah, when you talk about tough control by the various groups that you just referenced, some persons are likely to ask the question, well, at some point, the gladiators were in the same camp, were in the same party. Why is the contestation so fierce now that they are on opposing sides? Is it a fight to the finish?
Well, actually, that phrase, fight to the finish, was used by one of the persons, who, doubles as security, who assesses the security situation for Situation Room. You see, it's about, bottom line, politics. It's about who gets what and why. That is it. It's really not, these political actors, the political class, it's not about, oh, how do we care better for the people of Rivers State? No. Who controls the resources? Suddenly, men have taken up arms. As state security agencies are playing it safe. Do you know how vulnerable INEC officials are? Do you know how extremely vulnerable they are?
Why do you say that? Why do you ask that question?
Were we not all there when they were abducted and then eventually released? Anything could have happened.
So what is the report coming out of the Situation Room with regards to Saturday's election from the civil society?
There is need to be cautious. That is the report. There is need to be cautious. We are aware, that things are coming to a head. This election period, there's need to be cautious. And that is why we are appealing strongly to the office of the Nigerian citizen. That ordinary man who sells, that young man, the undergraduate, whose parents are striving to train in school. Say, listen, if you don't make it happen, it won't happen. Because these political actors, they do not come, they don't bear arms, but they will give you arms to go and shoot somebody. That is why we are appealing strongly to the office of the citizen.
Okay. Esther, thank you. We will quickly get back to you. But again, Mr. Dezang, you heard Esther's concerns, especially about those that you probably will be deploying to the different election areas. What kind of protection? Are you still going to go ahead to use, for instance, the NYSC core members?
Well, we are going to use members of the National Youth Service Corps, but not in large numbers as we did before. We will largely use our own staff. and also others from the tertiary institutions. But we have scaled down the number of members of NYSC that are going to be involved where you compare it with the past. But we are working with the security agencies to ensure that from the allotments to the wards to the polling units, that our staff, permanent and ad hoc, are secured so that they can conduct this election. Permit me, please, to, with due respect to the bishop, I think that with benefit of hindsight, in Ekiti and Oshun, there were complaints that if you deploy too many security agents, people would be frightened. It did not add up. That argument collapsed in the face of what occurred there, to the extent that we had the largest turnout of voters in both Ekiti and Oshun state governorship elections. In Ekiti, for example, we were able to record 47% turnout, and in Oshun we recorded 54% turnout, which is the highest turnout of any governorship election since 1999. So there's no correlation between deploying too many security men and people getting frightened. If anything, from our experience, what it does is that it gives people confidence to come out and vote. And I would want to appeal to the people of Rivers State to take advantage of the presence of the security agencies to come out and exercise their franchise. They are not there to intimidate them. They are not there to harass them. They are there to make sure that things take place peacefully. And that explains why from Edo, Ondo, and now to Rivers, the security agencies reviewed the architecture for securing the environment for the elections. And the idea is to give more confidence, especially to our staff, who are going to conduct elections in these areas that are violence prone. Don't forget that Edo is part of the Niger Delta. Ondo was contiguous to the Niger Delta, and now Rivers is the epicenter of the South-South and the Niger Delta. So if you do the risk assessment, it implies that you need to deploy more security agencies because you need to respond in equal measure to the threat that is on the ground, and that is what INEC and the security agencies are doing. So I think that we should not present the presence of the security agencies as a kind of boogeyman, as something that should frighten the electorate, but something that should give them confidence that they can come out and exercise their franchise peacefully and go back.
Okay, Mr. Desang, thank you very much. Now, Uzoma, you've raised a lot of concerns, especially about the safety of the personnel that will be deployed, and again, for those, the electorate themselves. Now, do you think, what is your assessment of the roles of the different parties, you understand? Do you think they've been given a fair playing ground?
The political...
Yes, the parties to the election.
Oh, very well, of course. They've been given level playing ground. But the reach, of course, of each party depends, on the depth of their pockets. Yes, so, but generally, all in all, they've been given that fair, it's fair game. And then you find out that each party, is contending seriously. It's fair game. Anybody can take these elections, really. Considering that there appears to be this balance.
Of terror?
Well, yes, there's actually this balance of terror. But it's fair game. They were all, nobody was muscled. Nobody was, shrouded or shelved from getting access to the electorates.
So you don't think one party is being schemed out of, of victory?
Oh, not at all. You see, one thing that INEC has done, because we monitored INEC elections, extensively from Edo, Ondo. In fact, the results we collected, from the PUs and then added up build up to, you know, the ward and local government level. When INEC was releasing their results, it was exactly what we gathered, that so INEC has established, you know, its position as the electoral body in Nigeria. That is why you find electors now, let me say, what we find also, electors induce the politicians. So who is giving money? It is the electors that provoke that process. You see, so INEC is nobody, you can't, no hanky-panky. Okay. Yes. All right,
so you're giving INEC a pass.
Definitely.
Based on previous elections. Esther Uzoma of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, thank you very much for coming to share perspectives on reverse elections with us. All right, we've got some tweets coming in. Don't forget our Twitter handle is right there on your screen. It's at NTAGMN. And we're discussing, of course, the rerun elections coming up in Rivers State on Saturday.
Mike Ayankwa has this tweet: the political violence in Rivers is one action too many. The police must protect NYC members, INEC officials, and voters.
All right, and I have Festus Akimboiwa, and he tweets: the key political actors in Rivers State should come out, face the camera, and publicly renounce violence before the rerun elections on Saturday.
And then Michael Makoje has this tweet: to serve the people is not by force. Therefore, the two major political parties, PDP and APC, should allow people decide who governs them.
And Chika Ugo tweets: I'm optimistic that the people of Rivers will come out to exercise their franchise despite all the threats.
Ejikeme Onwuka: I hope NYC members will not be used for this exercise. We will not want to lose any core member.
And this one is coming from Ike Chukwunwoma. I guess he's from Onelga. And he says Onelga is peaceful, ready for the rerun elections in Rivers State come December the 10th.
And Shitu attend. The results of Edo and Ondo elections have shown that our inconclusive elections aren't INEC problems. Politicians are the troublemakers.
And David Jesse tweets: Rivers people should know that no politician is worth dying for. Once they get your vote, they cut out all connections. So they cut out all connections with you. And those are the tweets that have come in.
That's right. We'll, of course, take a short break now. When we return, we'll continue with the conversation with our guests.
Hear the call of change. Stand up, Nigeria. Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. Go to so let the change begin from within. Look at your eye, oh get roller. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
Chairman of all chairmen. Oh, let me wash your hand for you. Don't worry. Let me take toothpick and. Hey. According to Professor, tranquilizer.
I am disappointed, aghast, crestfallen, and vanquished at your shameful display.
This week on your award-winning comedy series, Professor John Bull, starring Kanayo Okanayo, Mercy Johnson, Queen Wokoye, Yomi Fash Lanso, Oguz Baba.
I'd like to see Mr. Udo Etu. I hear you now, but find me something.
Are you mad?
I go.
Goodness, August, you show and your shit.
Oh.
Very nice man, generous.
Okay, anything for the guests. Maybe feature or something.
Happy weekend, sir.
Thank you.
Today is Wednesday.
Professor John Bull, this Tuesday and Friday, 8:30 to 9 p.m. on NTA Network, International, and Star Times.
I'm finished.
Who finished you?
Find me something, man.
Over and out.
Welcome to the new speed of life.
Wow, Fanta. Wow, that great taste. the delicious bubbly Fanta. What could possibly get in our way? Drink your Fanta before someone else does. Enjoy the great tasting Fanta flavors.
You're welcome back, but if you just joined us, it's Good Morning Nigeria. We are reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're still discussing the rerun elections in Rivers State, scheduled, of course, for Saturday. In about 48 hours, we still have with us Nick Gazang, Deputy Director of INEC. He's in charge of publicity. We still have with us also the Deputy Commissioner of Police, who is First Public Relations Officer, Mr. Donna Wona. We are being joined at this time now by an election expert. Of course, he's of the civil society wing, Mr. Lazarus Appeal. Mr. Appeal, a pleasure to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, my pleasure to be here.
All right. What's your take on what's forthcoming in Rivers? I mean, the elections, the rerun elections have been postponed on a number of occasions. INEC says they're ready. Police say they are ready. The bishop who joined us from Port Harcourt says the situation is calm. Do you think that the elections will get off to a good start this time?
Actually, when you welcome me, I wasn't very sure to say it's my pleasure to be here because this will be about the third time I'm in the studios to talk about rerun in Rivers. And the very first thing that comes to mind before one can think of what is to come on Saturday is between the first postponement or cancellation and the next one. What different did the police do differently, or rather the security? What intelligence did they harness and applied in the next one that it still failed? And so when we go into the Saturday election, one can never really be sure what is to come. So the assurances are good, but the narrative from the key actors, has it changed? It hasn't. It hasn't. And I was listening from the other room, and someone said...
Sorry, did you say the other room or something?
I mean the waiting room.
All right.
And so I heard my other colleague, Esther, say there are civilians or youths in the state who do a lot of courtism and all of that. And it's very true, because if you go to Rivers State, even from the recent amnesty extended to cultists, you would see that a lot of miscreants out there are armed. And how do they thrive? Arms are not for free. You can't just go to a supermarket and get it for free. So someone must have put it in their hands. And so if you look at the narrative still, again, from the key actors, and I'm not afraid to mention names, the governor and the minister, it is still not different from what we heard the very first time. The other one blames the other blames the other. And let's not even shy away from the reality. Once they were in the same camp and they were politicking together, now that they are at opposing camp, it's a game for them who will come on top. They are not running for Senate, they are not running for House of Reps, they are not running for State Assembly. Why are they the ones leading the narrative to the election? I can't even see any of the candidates on TV. It's these guys that I see. That tells you it's more a game of who will come atop at the end of the day. And that is where I will expect the security to be focusing. Because between the postponements, someone is supposed to have trailed these people. Who are they meeting with? Who are they talking to? And who is leaving their house or their hotels or where and heading to where? But again, we come to election. This is about the fourth time. And so for me, it's still left to be seen. And I will expect that the security agents will do a better job this time. It's not on election day that the breach occurs. It's not on election day someone is called to go and truncate the process. Someone is already settled long before. Monies are paid. They hold re-meetings. How come we are not knowing? But I also want to agree with the Deputy Commissioner when he said the people are to give this kind of privileged information to the security to act upon. Because people see these meetings happen even before elections come into play. But who is telling the police? But again, the question of if you tell the police, are they protecting you?
Okay, thank you, Lazarus. Let me bring in Mr. Dezang here again. Mr. Dezang, following the federal, High Court, decision a few days ago on this rural elections in some places, we've had conflicting reports and interpretations of what the report says. That with regards to the status of tie in this election. So can you please clarify the status of tie local government area in this rerun election?
Well, before the court ruling, INEC was not going to conduct elections in Thai state constituency because a return was met. And even by law, if a return is met, even if by an inappropriate person or someone is made to do so under duress, the commission cannot change that return until you go back to a court of law. So I think in this case, the aggrieved parties went to court, and the court has ruled that election should hold there, and INEC as a law-abiding commission will comply with that. In our narrative, we had said that in the course of conducting the Saturday 19th March election, there were elections that were suspended, and as we suspended them, they were at different stages. And there were certain results that were returned under duress, certain collations that were done under duress. So, of course, that undermined the integrity of what the process is. But at the point at which a return has been made, the commission cannot change that return until it is taken to court. If, for example, the law is such that if an electoral officer makes a return on an election, even if the return is wrong, the INEC chairman cannot countermand or change that return. It has to be taken to court before the court rules either in favor of that return or otherwise. So that is how it is. If there is a ruling on ground, as there is now, the commission will have to comply with it.
Well, Nick Dazang, I'm still with you. One question. Of course, politicians will, as it is said, make all kinds of allegations about planned rigging and so on and so forth. But Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike addressed the media on some occasion, and he was, showing up a list of INEC officials who will participate in Saturday's elections. And according to him, the claim is that these are tainted officials. These are persons who have political affiliation. What's your reaction to this?
Well, I think it was a phantom list. That list did not emanate from us. And that was perhaps why we did not even bother to respond. And because in time past, with due respect to the governor, he had made certain allegations that were unfounded. For example, even before that time, he had gone to the media to say that some persons were printing INEC documents. And we came out to tell the world that, look, as at that time, we had not even begun to print the sensitive materials for the elections. And we had not contracted out anyone to print the sensitive materials for us. And even if we were to do so, we would not do so in Rivers State. We would perhaps do so in some area that will give us some degree of independence, neutrality, and so on, and not by a roadside printer. So these allegations have been coming, most of them unfounded, but what I would also want people to understand is that our documents normally carry security features, and we review these security features. So if you begin to reprint what we had printed before, assuming that it will work for you in the Saturday selection, you come to grief, because what we bring out will be different, and what you have will have no bearing with what we are going to use. So instead of devoting your energy and talent on printing papers that have no relevance, the advice I would give politicians is to devote the same energy and time persuading people to come out and vote for you or to subscribe to your...
Nick Dazang, let's back up a bit and go to the general elections of 2015. Yes. One of the reported incidents in Rivers, in particular, at the time, was that some persons went to the polling units and demanded first to see the result sheets before they could cast their votes. because they felt that it was with the result sheet that the outcome could be manipulated. What is the expected conduct in Saturday's rerun elections? Can any person demand to see election result sheets, whether they are genuine or otherwise, before they vote? And if they don't see the election result sheets right there with them, what should be their disposition?
I think that issue arose, and I addressed it in 2015, which is that only INEC officials have anything to do with INEC materials, not even observers. People who are accredited to observe elections, like members of civil society or NGOs or the media, can have access to our materials. And it is wrong for a candidate or a politician I don't think to even use the word demand is appropriate in this context, to ask to cite our materials before he votes. It is not his remit. And in any case, we have always said that on election day, no one should come to the polling unit with an orderly, no matter what his position is. You are equal before the law, and you are just like any other voter. You perform your civic duty on that day, cast your vote, and you leave the polling unit, or if you want to remain and listen to the result of the election, you do so peacefully, but not in a manner as to brazenly request that you must cite the result sheets or other sensitive materials. It is wrong, and we hope that it will not repeat itself in this election. The IG has made it very clear in his pronouncements in Edo, in Ondo, and in yesterday's stakeholders forum that whoever it is, whatever your position, you come to the polling unit, you exercise your franchise and leave. And we expect the stakeholders in Rivers State to abide by this.
Okay, Mr. Design. Lazarus, again, because of the tension and anxiety, okay, this we'll come back to you. Because of the anxiety and the tension that the Rivers election, has generated, I want to ask, what really are the stakes?
I think we know the stakes. It has never been this hyped for parliamentary elections in Nigeria as it's hyped when it comes to presidential or gubernatorial elections. So clearly, it's a tussle between two evils of equal proportion, which will be recognized at the end of the day as being the stronger. It's actually that much a game. It is not the election itself. In fact, an expression we like to say within the civil society space is that elections are local. And what we try to explain from there is that it's owned by the people. Now, look at how long the people have gone without representation. Yet, someone somewhere wants the process to go as he pleases, or the elections will not hold. You will clearly see that there is no actual commitment to try and fill the vacuum that has been there. There is no commitment to do that. Someone wants to tell the other person, I'm in charge, I can decide, and all of that. So that's what is the hype. It's not the election itself. We have senators, we have House of Reps, we have all of this. There is no hype. There is never a hype.
What does it tell us about our democracy? Because we thought that we're making progress.
Of course, we have made a lot of progress. Unfortunately, the political parties have not. INEC have evolved from very stringent processes to very nice processes, having made some innovative introductions, like the card reader, like simultaneous accreditation and voting. These are very beautiful progress that has been achieved with the INEC. Look at election observation. We used to go anywhere. We have gone to very systematic and evidence-based methodologies like the PVT, the quick count. Look at the security. We used to have very shabby and scanty deployment. These days you go out, a security person stops you, they have a list to check if you're an accredited group. There is improvement in every other stakeholder except the political parties. For them, the game has been the same. From 1999 to now, All they want is to truncate the process, manipulate it to suit their end game. They have not made any improvement, unfortunately.
All right, Lazarus.
Still no internal democracies.
Well, Lazarus, thank you very much. Let's dissipate. You've listened first to Esther Uzoma, while she was speaking before we signed her off. Lazarus has also spoken now. And of course, some of the tweets, the reactions that we have. First, we respond to these issues generally. And then the specific case, there was a report some weeks ago of some persons who were arrested, alleged to be printing some INEC-sensitive materials on their own. Probably these are not persons who are in collaboration with INEC, as Nick Dazank has indicated. What is the status of that case?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, there was going to be a strict restriction of movement on Saturday, watertight. And we also make sure that there's a distinction between shared criminal enterprise and election duty. Election is once a very important day that can mar and make the country, the state, the local government, the community. So there's going to be watertight security arrangement for this particular election. As regards printing of material, the investigation is not conducted on the pages of newspaper. When the case is properly investigated, at the end of the day, the police will make it open, either arraign people in court. And you see, when you accuse people, you should be prepared to bring evidence. So we are on it, and we are investigating. And we are conducting a very thorough investigation in collaboration with INEC. Because it's enough to say this is fake. Do you have the original? So there are a lot of things that go into investigation rather than newspaper talk. Yeah, that is one. And I'm not, you see, I also assure that this perception of Rivers State being a violent state is not true. Yes, there's violence. Proliferation of arms is a problem of the West African region, Nigeria community. And we are mopping up arms in the system. But there are a few people, very infinitesimal people or persons, individuals or stakeholders or whatever you call them, that are foisting violence in the community. And we are going to deal, the IG has given instruction, deal with this individual decisively. Like a cancer. You have a tumor in your system. Your body is beautiful. You just remove the tumor. And that's all. So there are very few people.
Sacred cows.
No sacred cows. River State people are lovely, peaceful people. The INEC director refers as a garden city. You can't have violence in the garden.
All right, DCP Awuna, let's bring in Nick Dazank one more time. This is not about the garden now. I mean, this is we've had two topics to discuss on the program this morning. The first, we were speaking to our correspondent, Muhammad Ali, who is covering the general elections in Ghana. He was with us on Tuesday and again this morning. And one of the questions we asked him had to do with the voting processes. And he indicated that card reader failure was not an issue in Ghana's election. Now, here, for us, since 2015, whether in Edo, whether in Ondo, anywhere, we've always been having challenges with our card readers. What are the prospects for Saturday?
Thank you for asking that question. Even as you were contacting your man in Ghana, I've been in contact with our colleagues in Ghana as well. We discussed the process with them yesterday. And you don't forget that it was when we observed the elections in Ghana that we subscribed to the idea of the smart card reader. And that is why observation helps in elections. But before now, Ghana also had challenges with the smart card reader. And over time, they now perfected. So we are also having teething challenges. And our ICT department is working on it. They work on the software to the extent that it will be calibrated in such a manner as to read the biometrics of even individuals that have, by nature of their work, like mechanics, farmers, who have challenges with their fingerprints, or people whose fingerprints are oily, like our beautiful women in Nigeria who like to wear all sorts of creams, or what you call in Hausa lalle, So we'll work on it, and by we'll get over it. And,
yeah, but Nick, the point is that our correspondent did not tell us that they had methylated spirit nearby, or something, to be wiping their thumbs. It was a seamless process. So is it the quality of the card readers that you have here that is the challenge?
No, like I said, even in Ghana in time past, they had some of these challenges. Elections in some units had to be cancelled, and the elections conducted the next day. In fact, in Ghana, what they did was that they agreed, the stakeholders agreed that wherever the smart card reader failed, and within a certain period, a smart card reader is not replaced, then the election in that polling unit will be repeated the next day, and that is what we are doing here in Nigeria. Okay, incidentally,
so Mr. Desang, we are getting the assurance that things will go as planned.
The other thing I keep saying is that we just started using this smart card reader in 2015. There are companies out there, Toyota, Mercedes, Volkswagen, they have been there for centuries, and they recall vehicles that they make. Maybe
Mr. Desang, I have to stop here.
Yes. So, I mean, we need to make, we are working towards perfecting, but we need also to make allowances for mistakes.
For recall of smart card readers. Nick doesn't. No problem. We'll pause you in the meantime so we can take reactions from our viewers. Right. We have the second set of tweets. Johnny Fejika tweets, enough of the argument. Will there be an impartial role by the police force and other security agencies? If yes, then there will be peace.
He has a second one, Kinsley.
Well, no, that's Mrs. Uzoma is not here telling us yes.
All right. Ike Chukwu Nwama also, of course, Mrs. Uzoma is not here. This was directed to her. So I just take this one from Festus Akimboyewa. And Festus tweets, the poisonous utterances of the political actors in Rivers State may have set the stage for fear and violence.
And then Sani Amakoji has this tweet, if we continue with militarization of state or constituency election, it might be difficult for us to conduct general elections. Okay,
on Nekata, Abdul Bariu tweets, our political leaders are too selfish. I'm pleading with my brothers and sisters in Rivers to exercise their civic right with peace.
And Ikpindola Adewale, INEC should fairly count the votes and fairly announce the winner. Then there will be peace.
All right, I think that's the much we can take from the tweets. We'd like to thank all of you for making this very possible. But let's quickly begin to wind down our conversation. DCP, of course, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Don, and we're now always a pleasure. When we call upon you, you're always ready to be part of our program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And we also like to thank our expert in election observation, that's Mr. Lazarus Apple. Mr. Apple, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we have the Deputy Director Publicity, INEC, Mr. Nick Desang. Mr. Desang, always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
And that does it for this part of the program. We continue with sports and Kingsley.
All right. MPLF champions Enugu Rangers on Wednesday night proved that winning Nigeria's top flight league trophy was not a fluke as they beat Rivers United that finished second in the 2015-2016 league season. Plus, the International Olympic Committee extends Russia's doping sanctions. We'll join our sports desk now for details of the stories.
Oh, this is outrageous!
Chisom Ibuchulam was the hero as Nigerian champions. Enugu Rangers got their Super 4 campaign.
We have developing stories from Indonesia and Germany. And of course, we join Uyemi Ajayi for details of those stories.
More than 100 people were killed and more feared dead after a powerful earthquake struck the Indonesian island of Sumatra, with many of victims crushed to death in their homes as they slept. The United States Geological Survey says the earthquake which shook Sumatra's northernmost province, Aceh, had a preliminary magnitude of 6.5. The Indonesian Meteorology, Climatology and Geophysics Agency said the tremor was centered in Pidie Jaya, a region of Aceh's east coast adjacent to the Strait of Malacca. Now to Germany. Germany has urged Israel in unusually strong language to scrap legislation that would legalize Israeli settlement homes built on private Palestinian land in the occupied West Bank, saying it would break international law. The German Foreign Ministry spokesman said the government was extremely concerned about the development. Asked whether Germany and the European Union should punish Israel with economic or diplomatic sanctions, the spokesman said the sanctions would be the right path in this case to make headway in the Middle East peace process. Germany tends to be more reserved than other European nations in its criticisms of Israel because of the legacy of the Nazi Holocaust.
Ajay, thanks a lot there for the foreign news segment. Let's go over now to Ngozi Chude for arts and entertainment.
Happy, brother Jeku is happy. Hey, my people, I don't tell it now. Say, brother Jeku, we go beyond Nigeria onto a UK of England.
Popular actor and movie producer Mike Ezuroyen has been in a happy mood since he attracted international recognition as players from foremost Premiership club Watford FC endorsed his latest movie, Brother Jeku, one of the